There's a really frustrating moment that happens a lot for people when you feel like you're going backwards. You thought you'd understood something. You thought you'd seen through patterns, but then suddenly, out of nowhere, it seems fear comes back, thinking comes back, and searching comes back. And it can honestly feel like, what was the point in all of that? But I don't actually think you're going backwards. I think it's important to say first that this feeling is very real. It happens to all of us. And it can be very discouraging, very confusing. And for a lot of us, it can be very exhausting. Like a constant push and pull with our mind and our thoughts. We think we have clarity, and then we think we're so far away from it. We have good times, but then before we know it, we are swept away and we're experiencing bad times. And these discouraging and confusing feelings can especially become apparent when you've genuinely seen something clear before. But maybe the problem is you thought the goal was never to experience those things again. I want to address a misunderstanding that people feel like clarity is a permanent state of peace. A misunderstanding that deep insight means no more struggle. And a misunderstanding that pure awareness, pure being means fear no longer exists. I want to make it very clear that all of this is movement. And movement doesn't stop happening just because you've seen something clearly. You finally notice your thoughts. You finally notice the habits and the patterns of the mind. That's great. That's clear. But do they stop? Thoughts still happen. Thought loops still continue to try to be reinforced. Old patterns and old behaviors and habits of the mind still play out. Just because they've now been seen clearly doesn't mean they stop. Just because you've experienced truth, just because you've had deep insights or deep realizations, doesn't mean the body will stop fearing. It doesn't mean the nervous system and the fight or flight mechanism will cease. We really need to understand this, because this leads to us believing that we're still missing something when we still fear, when our thoughts still happen, when our loops still continue. They are just movement. I want to say this clearly because this is something I've noticed in myself. There's been a clear recognition, a clear noticing, a clear perception of clarity. Like I feel, that's it. It's complete. I've seen through everything. I've seen how everything works. Now I'm free. And then a couple of weeks later, these loops, these patterns, these mechanisms start to show. This is part of the human experience. This is built in. This isn't something to escape from. And after I noticed this, I noticed that there wasn't anything to actually be done about this. The only thing that changed was in how I reacted to them. The only thing that changed was my relationship to this movement. This movement that is always here in all of us, in everyday life. An important thing that I feel I need to share is that if you've genuinely had a moment or moments of clarity, of truth, of peace, what can really feel like we're going quote unquote backwards is when we feel like we aren't there anymore and we are comparing our current experience to a past memory of clarity. This can usually feel very painful, not physically, but emotionally, because deep down the mind is quietly saying, that's something I need to return to. That's something I need to get back to. But that movement right there, that moment where your mind says, that's where I need to be. That's what I need to get back to. That's the mechanism that is causing the suffering. That's the mechanism that's causing the resistance and the friction and the pain. So this feeling of going backwards, what if it's not actually regression? What if, in fact, it's you just becoming more aware of what's always been here? The thoughts, the patterns, the habits. That then doesn't start to look like regression. That starts to look like more awareness. And awareness doesn't always feel peaceful at first. This is integration. I've spoken a lot in the past about integration and how important it is. And during moments where we feel like things aren't clear, where we feel like we're going backwards or we're regressing, these can just be moments of integration. And they can feel raw. They can feel uncomfortable. And they can make you feel exposed. Not because anything's wrong, but because you're now seeing more honestly. And this is actually something that I see come up constantly within my Patreon space. People think I was doing well, but now I'm failing again. But usually this means they're just seeing their self more clearly than before. And that's something that we explore a lot more directly there. Not how to become perfect, but how to stop turning every single experience or moment into something that needs to be fixed, into proof that something has gone wrong. If this resonates and you want to go deeper into this with us, that's where we look more directly. So maybe you're not going backwards. Maybe you're just noticing what was already here. It's just that it's not as easy to escape it anymore. And strangely, that might actually be progress.